Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the Rangers Respite. I'm Philip. This is Saturday, and that means it's time for a Lost Lantern video. Now, something was off with my spinny wheel thing, so I just picked at random. And by at random, sorry, I'm just fixing it because it's bugging me. And by at random, I mean I reached up behind me and grabbed a bottle off my shelf and said, "This is what I'm reviewing next week," which is the 2024 Single Cask P6, uh, which is a whiskey Delbach unsmoked American single malt whiskey. But before I go into any more detail on that, if you like this show, if you like these videos and you'd like to see more, um, as always, like, comment, subscribe. All of that is appreciated. You can buy stickers, hats, shirts off of TeePublic to support the show. And these wonderful ballpoint twist pens, made from a French oak cognac cask, held a cognac for 45 very long years before being used to finish a peated American single malt whiskey in the Pacific Northwest. If you know, you know. And not only that, but coming up, or being listed this weekend, and may in fact already be listed depending on whether or not I have pictures up. I have rollerball pens made from the same barrel stave. Again, those will be in my Etsy shop. They'll be going up this weekend. And the purchase of those, of course, supports not only this channel, but also the Single Malt Frontier. Now, back to the whiskey at hand. Now, this is an interesting one. So, this is cask strength, as all Lost Lantern bottlings are. Is bottled at 57.8% alcohol by volume, or 115.6 proof. It is, of course, from Whiskey Del Bach in Tucson, Arizona. It is a single malt. It is their classic single malt. It is not their mesquite smoked malt. And this is 11 months old. You heard that right. 11 months, aged in a 15-gallon new American oak cask. This is less than a year old. But that's sort of one of the interesting things about distilling in, a place like Tucson or in large parts of Texas, where because of the extremes of weather, if you have a big cask that you're aging for, say, 2-3 years, you frequently run into the problem of you either end up with astronomically high proof and very little in the barrel, or you're, depending on the humidity, you end up with incredibly low proof and very little in the barrel, and looking at, well, if we let it age for too long, it'll be absolutely we can't bottle it as whiskey. On the other hand, if we age it for too long where it's losing water and gaining alcohol content, it's going to be extremely harsh and abrasive, and we'd have to proof it down a lot. And in both cases, you run into the problem of, because there is so much contracting and expanding into and out of the wood and drawing out all the compounds in the oak, they tend to get way too oaky, way too fast. So small format barrels, very short aging times has been Whiskey Del Bach's solution to that. And I'll stop prattling on about whiskey barrel sizes and aging in diverse climates. I may make a whole video about that. If you're interested in learning about distillation in the Sonoran Desert, we have an interview with Mark Fiataler of Whiskey Del Bach, who is an excellent interview. It's on the Single Malt Frontier YouTube channel. If I remember, I'll put a link to that in the description down below. And this is really interesting. It's 11 months old, just shy of a year. It's got a character that I want to say is quintessentially Whiskey Del Bach, because I recognize it from like the classic a little bit out of the Dorado and the Frontera, but it's not. It's hard to describe because I want to say that that's a quintessentially whiskey Del Bach note, but I have not had enough of them in very much detail to tell you for sure. Huh. So there's a little bit of like Cherry's Jubilee. It's not a cordial. There isn't a chocolatey note to it. There's some oaky tannins, some like sawdust, a little bit of just a hint of vanilla, something akin to black raspberry. Hmm. This one always like takes me on a journey, if that makes sense. There's always something else there to look for and to sniff out. There's there's something like if you've ever like encountered like traditionally tanned leather, particularly deer hide, there's a scent to it. And I get a little bit of that in there. A little bit of like creamy, like sweet cream notes on it. On the palate, you get more of that oak spice. It's a little bit more prominent. There's that core malty profile, a little bit of that like cherry, black raspberry, just a hint of that sweet cream, and a like spice cake note, like box mix spice cake. There's almost a little bit of like damp wood note to it, which is interesting. It is a little bit spiky on the palate, just the hair, which comes from it being so young, but it's one of those interesting things where blind pour, if you had to guess how old this was, I would put money on you not guessing under 4 or 5 years. Because it's got all of that oak presence, and it's that small format aging, which gives it all that oak presence, um, combined with the massive day night pressure and temperature cycles in that area of the world that give it that like big oak presence for only being 11 months old. That said, there are a lot of fantastic whiskeys that are aged less than you would think. I wish the finish was longer. Yeah, my one complaint is that the finish is really short. It's a quick blush of oak tannin, a little bit of spice, a little bit of that like tart fruit note, and then it's just gone. And that's really a shame because it's got so much to it. And I wish that there was a little bit more there just to like round it out a little bit better. That said, I really enjoy this whiskey. Which brings me to those 3 questions that I always ask and answer. The first one being, do I enjoy it? Absolutely. I fully admit, this is not my favorite Whiskey Del Bach bottle that I have at the moment. I don't think that my favorite is within easy reach. I don't see it. I've got a bottle of Ode to Isla that is my favorite Whiskey Del Bach bottle at the moment. Sorry, Ode. It's not Ode to Isla anymore. But anyway, this is a fantastic dram. It's a good example of what Whiskey Del Bach does. It's a good example of Adam and Nora picking a barrel that you may not expect, but yields a fantastic and interesting result. Second question. Do I think it's a good value? That point is moot because it is no longer available. It was a limited availability bottling, and I only just managed to get it. Which brings me to the third and final question. Do I recommend it? Again, another moot point, unfortunately, because it can't be had anymore. But if you do see a Lost Lantern Whiskey Del Bach bottling on a shelf somewhere, or on their website, if they have a new release from Whiskey Del Bach, I 100% recommend picking up. It's going to be a fantastic pick. Adam and Nora always do a great job. Whiskey Del Bach always makes fantastic whiskey. And I am always excited to see what they're doing because they do a lot of interesting stuff. They do a lot of interesting finishes and a lot of marrying together whiskeys from different finishes. I've got a little bottle of their 2024 spring distiller's cut, and it is amazing. I'm really excited for the distiller's cuts they have coming down the pipe for 2026. I really want to schedule an interview with Mark Fertaler again to talk about finishing and cask management, specifically about like getting finishing casks and how they manage that. But that's a goal for another day. Now, before I go, once again, just really quick, I am selling these, and these will be up before the end of the weekend. They are both turned from a French oak cognac cask. It is used to hold cognac for 45 years before being used to finish a peated American single malt whiskey in the Pacific Northwest. If you know, you know. Now, I think I fixed my problem with the wheel that I spin to pick what's happening next. So, without further ado, let's see if I did. Let's see what we are going to look at next Saturday. And I'm excited because there's some good stuff on here. There is some good stuff on here. Discovery Club, Cask D9, St. Augustine Distillery. That's another slightly limited release, and I'm really excited to talk about it, and I can't wait. And I also can't wait for Wednesday's video, which is going to be on bare knuckles bourbon. So until next time, my friends, stay happy, stay geeks. Slancha.